If I told you that you have already died billions of times, you would probably assume this is philosophy, maybe a metaphor, maybe some poetic exaggeration about how we change as people. But physics is not poetic. Physics is brutally literal. And according to the deepest laws that govern matter, identity, and particles, the person you think has been continuously alive since birth may never have existed in the way you imagine. Your body is not stable. Your atoms are not permanent. Your particles are not even uniquely yours. In fact, the particles inside you have been replaced so many times that the idea of a permanent you becomes almost impossible to defend. The strange part is this: none of it feels like death. You woke up this morning believing you are the same person who fell asleep last night, the same memories, the same body, the same identity. But if physics is right, continuity is an illusion. To understand why, we have to begin with a simple assumption that almost everyone believes without question, that the atoms in your body belong to you. It feels obvious. You look at your hands. Those atoms are your atoms. They have been with you for years. But biology tells a different story. Your body is constantly replacing itself. Skin cells die and regenerate. Blood cells circulate for weeks before being replaced. The lining of your stomach renews itself in days. Even the atoms in your bones are gradually recycled. In fact, over the course of about 7 to 10 years, nearly every atom in your body has been replaced. The carbon atoms that make up your muscles today were likely part of plants, animals, or even other humans before they became part of you. The oxygen atoms in your blood were probably inside someone else's lungs not long ago. And the hydrogen atoms in your body have likely been part of oceans, clouds, dinosaurs, and stars long before they became part of you. So if identity depended on the atoms themselves, you would have stopped existing many times already. But perhaps identity isn't about atoms. Maybe it's about structure, the pattern of atoms arranged in a particular way. That idea sounds more stable. Yet even that assumption begins to collapse when we look deeper into physics, because atoms themselves are not stable objects either. Inside every atom are particles that behave in ways that challenge our common sense. Electrons are not little balls orbiting a nucleus like planets around a star. They are probability waves, clouds of possible locations, and those clouds constantly interact with their environment. Every time an atom bumps into another atom, exchanges energy, or absorbs a photon of light, the quantum state changes. The configuration of the system updates. It is not the same state it was before. In the language of physics, information about the exact microscopic arrangement of particles is constantly being erased and rewritten. Imagine pausing the universe for a single instant and recording the exact position and momentum of every particle in your body. Now wait a fraction of a second and do the same measurement again. You will not get the same answer. Particles will have scattered, interacted, exchanged energy, emitted photons, absorbed radiation. Even the air molecules around you will have collided with your skin trillions of times. At the smallest scales, your body is not a stable object. It is a storm, a continuous flow of matter and energy moving through a temporary structure. You are less like a statue and more like a whirlpool. A whirlpool looks stable from a distance. It has shape. It has location. It seems like a thing. But the water inside it is constantly changing. The water that forms the whirlpool now will not be the same water 1 second later. The pattern remains while the substance flows through it. Your body works the same way. The atoms pass through. The structure persists, but even the structure is more fragile than it appears, because the brain, the organ you trust to maintain continuity, operates through electrical signals between neurons. Every thought, memory, and perception corresponds to a pattern of activity in a network of cells. Those patterns are constantly shifting. Neurons fire, chemicals diffuse across synapses, proteins inside cells are built and destroyed. The physical substrate of your thoughts is dynamic. If we could freeze time and compare the microscopic configuration of your brain from 1 second to the next, we would find enormous differences. New molecules synthesized, old molecules degraded, electrical states changed. The brain you had a moment ago no longer exists. And yet you experience a continuous sense of self. How? The answer lies in a subtle principle of physics and information. Continuity does not require identical matter. It requires a stable flow of information. Consider a flame. A candle flame appears steady. It seems like a single object that persists through time. But the atoms inside a flame are constantly changing. Oxygen flows in. Carbon dioxide flows out. Heat excites molecules that did not exist in the flame seconds earlier, yet we still call it the same flame. Because the process continues, the pattern persists even though the material changes. Your body works the same way. Life is not a static arrangement of atoms. It is a dynamic process maintained by constant energy flow. Food enters your body. Molecules are broken down. New molecules are built. Waste leaves. At every moment, the atoms inside you are being exchanged with the environment. From a purely physical perspective, the boundary between you and the world is porous. You inhale atoms that were once inside stars. You exhale atoms that will someday be part of something else. The universe recycles everything, but this still leaves a deeper question. If matter constantly flows through your body, and the microscopic configuration of particles changes every moment, why does identity persist at all? Why doesn't the sense of self reset every second? The answer may lie in how physical systems encode information. Complex systems can maintain patterns across changing components. Think of a hurricane. The storm can last for days while the air molecules inside it constantly move in and out. The hurricane is not defined by which molecules are present, but by how they are arranged and how they move. The structure persists because the process persists. Your brain is similar. Neural patterns maintain continuity even as the underlying molecules change. Memories are not stored in individual atoms. They are stored in connections between neurons. As long as those connections preserve the same information, the pattern continues. But this leads to a strange conclusion. The you that existed 10 years ago was made of completely different atoms. The you that existed yesterday had a slightly different molecular configuration. The you that existed 1 second ago had a different neural state. From a microscopic perspective, every moment replaces the previous version. Yet because the information pattern continues, we interpret the process as a single life. Physics does not describe identity as a permanent object. It describes identity as a continuous computation, a process unfolding over time, and this idea becomes even stranger when we consider the nature of particles themselves. In quantum physics, identical particles are truly identical. Every electron in the universe has exactly the same mass, charge, and intrinsic properties. There is no label that distinguishes one electron from another. If you swap two electrons, the universe does not notice. They are fundamentally indistinguishable. This means that the electrons in your brain are not unique particles assigned specifically to you. They are part of a vast sea of identical entities that move through matter across the cosmos. An electron in your neuron today could have been inside a star millions of years ago. The identity of the particle itself carries no information about where it has been. Only the pattern of interactions matters, which means the particles in your brain do not define who you are. The pattern of activity does. You are not your atoms. You are the relationships between them, and those relationships are constantly updating. At every moment, the physical configuration that once defined you disappears and is replaced by a new one. Billions of microscopic transitions occur every second. Atoms replaced, molecules rebuilt, quantum states altered. In a strict physical sense, the previous version of you ceases to exist. A new configuration takes its place. But because the information flows smoothly from one state to the next, consciousness experiences continuity. The process never pauses long enough for you to notice the replacement. Imagine watching a movie film strip. Each frame is a different image. If you looked at them individually, you would see separate pictures. But when they are projected quickly, your brain perceives continuous motion. Your life works the same way. Each moment is a new configuration of matter and information. The frames change. The story continues. So when physics suggests that you have died billions of times, it is not describing dramatic endings. It is describing microscopic transitions. Every second, the exact arrangement of particles that once defined you disappears. Another arrangement replaces it. The process continues so smoothly that you perceive a single, uninterrupted self. But at the deepest level, the universe is rebuilding you constantly, moment by moment, particle by particle, information flowing forward through time. And this realization can feel unsettling at first. It challenges the comforting idea that identity is permanent. But it also reveals something extraordinary. You are not a static object. You are a process that has been running since the day you were born. A pattern of matter and energy sustained by the laws of physics The atoms change, the molecules change, the particles change, but the information persists, like a whirlpool in a river, like a flame in the wind, like a storm in the atmosphere. You are not the matter that composes you. You are the pattern that the matter briefly forms, and that pattern has survived billions of microscopic endings without ever noticing them. The universe is constantly dismantling and rebuilding you, and somehow the story continues. The next version of you arrives every fraction of a second, carrying the memory of the previous one, a chain of continuity stretching through time, not a single unbroken object, but a sequence of transformations that feel like one life. Physics does not erase identity, it reframes it. You were never meant to be permanent. You were meant to be a process, and processes do not fear change, they depend on it. So yes, according to physics, you have died billions of times already, but the remarkable thing is that each new version of you keeps waking up, looking around, and continuing the journey as if nothing ever ended at all.